All right, everyone, welcome back to the Beyond Sunday podcast. This is the space where we get to come together and take the conversation that begins on Sunday morning and go a little bit deeper, go a little bit further. Our desire is that there's a space to talk about what God might still be saying. And today we get to have Max with us again. Max, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Awesome. Max preached at Next Step while I was away on an anniversary vacation. So thanks, Max, for stepping in there.
What you're saying is you're fresh.
I'm so ready for this.
You're slow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean always, but like maybe especially now. So we'll get to the conversation in just a minute, but before we do, check out this video. All right, welcome back, everyone. So this week, Max, why don't you tell us where we were at or what the big idea was in this Walking with Jesus formation series?
Yeah, so this week, I think appropriately enough, we were talking about hospitality in a time of hostility, which it kind of feels all too familiar for a lot of days. So that was what we talked about, which it was great. There was an energy this week, with people missing and here and there. Just started right away with music and there's definitely an energy there. So it made it fun, actually.
Nice. Yay! Spirit showed up.
Yep, for sure.
That's good.
Good stuff. So Devin, where were you at in the text this week?
We kind of were followed a couple of the Revised Common Lectionary scriptures, Isaiah 1, Psalm 32, really to land at Luke 19 with Zacchaeus and Jesus encountering Zacchaeus coming through Jericho, but using and utilizing scriptures, Isaiah 1, and just what Israel is navigating, and that they've offered all this worship, but they haven't offered their heart. They've offered a lot of religious tradition and sacrifice, and God's like, I'm going to hide my face from you. Yeah. You offer me prayers, and I'm not showing up. And because their heart was not where God was attuned to God. And then Psalm 32 is this like David's confession before God, that in the confession that David offers God, there's like a lifting of a weight or a burden, and that God sees him and forgives him, to then land in Luke 19 with Zacchaeus, who it seemed to put all of this together, that Jesus encounters Zacchaeus, and you see those religious leaders who are around, like they're questioning, why is Jesus going to a sinner's house? And in the encounter with Zacchaeus repents and confesses and desires to make things right in his encounter with Jesus. And that is a stark contrast to how this story started. You know, when he encounters that he just climbed up a tree to go to see him walk through. Okay. And then Jesus saw him, pointed him out. It's like, I'm coming to your house.
Yeah. Yeah. So Max, were you also in some of those same places, or where were you at in the text?
Yeah, I'm all over the place, right? I'm all over the board here. So I actually, when I start trying to I start the title with hospitality. So I look up literally, in my different scriptures and stuff, hospitality and the words hostility. So I actually started in Romans. I danced around in Romans a little bit around chapter 12 with share with the Lord's people who are in need, practice hospitality. Yeah. I started there, and then I went to, before I got to Zacchaeus, I went to Job, actually. Because just, as I was kind of praying and going through this, there was a part where Job says, but no stranger had to spend the night. You remember that, where he says, no stranger has to spend the night in the street. my door is always open. And
Mm.
that kind of kicked me into gear with, it's easy to be hospitable when we're happy, right? Good. But to live a life, to be hospitable, to make being hospitable a priority.
Mm-hmm.
That Job, with everything he went to. And then, I talked a little bit about, what Peter said, and then went into Zacchaeus.
Yeah. So good.
And again, like you just said, what I found with Zacchaeus, I was reading that, and then on the way in the morning, Sunday morning, I was going in there and I was thinking, okay, you got Zacchaeus, where you talked about he repents, right? That is a change of heart, right? Because he was a bad dude, really, right? He was a chief tax collector, right? He was not thought of very highly. So could you imagine in today's day and age, Jesus coming and going into pick somebody who's not very well liked in the news? Jesus goes them. Everybody would be like, whoa, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we need to be, we need to go to where we're, desired or needed. And so then I also used, if you go back in Luke just a little bit to, the Pharisees invite Jesus in, and the woman cleans his feet with her tears and her hair. So you had kind of two, let's bring Jesus in, but only on one side of that did one really have a change of heart, right? The Pharisees were like, come on in and check out, whatever.
Yeah.
And it took a sinner, a poor woman, to kind of get that parable across, where Zacchaeus, that to me was just a really fascinating kind of example of the same kind of scenario where one person recognized and the other group did not.
Yeah. It came to mind too, leading into Sunday, was that Zacchaeus, the story of Zacchaeus. So we've sung it as kids, maybe we've grown up in church, and I have a tendency in these kinds of stories to read through it like, I already know it. I know the story of Zacchaeus. He climbs up a tree, he's short, he can't see, he wants to see Jesus, he comes in, I'm coming to your house. But if we slow down long enough to recognize, like you just mentioned, a chief tax collector. So amongst the Jews, not well, you said not well liked. Like, he's probably hated. I mean, it's really like, when I see you coming, I'm going to duck down an alley and avoid your presence, because you're unethical and immoral. And if I'm near you, maybe you're going to take more of my money, which I'm just not going to stick around for that. And so, likely among Jews, not a lot of friends. Yet he is Jewish by birth, and that's who Jesus calls out. I'm coming to your house. And
yep.
In this place, like, he's only got other like castaways at his house. That's who's going to come into his house. That's why the other Jewish, the leaders and Pharisees, are like, he's going to a sinner's house. And I was like, that's all who's going to be friends of this person. Because likely they're getting a cut of whatever. Like, if we're friends with you, maybe you won't take as much. But again, like, even the moment where Zacchaeus is in the house and is like, I am, is offering restitution, because of, Jesus is like, salvation has come to this house, but he's offering to pay back 4 times as much, half of his possessions. And if I don't slow down long enough, I can think like, that just seems like it might just be off the top and it won't hurt.
Right.
But a deeper dive and looking at it, like, actually this is going to cost him. It's not just like, oh, this isn't a big deal. I've actually have so much. Like, you have $1 billion, a million, and still going to have, quite a bit of money. Right. But this is a significant amount, a significant portion where he's like, okay, I want to pursue righteousness, and I recognize I haven't. And that's the confession piece with him. And that then comes with this restitution and generosity for hospitality. I also think that it's funny that this one comes on the heels of Halloween, right? Halloween was a few days prior to this last Sunday, where we were offering hospitality in a culture of hostility. And my neighborhood fills up in Halloween. Lots of people come out and they're going door to door, and row or street after street after street. And it was not a great night weather-wise. And yet we still had masses of people coming We open our home for Halloween. People come over and have some hot soup and hot cocoa, and people stay for a little while, then they continue on. And it took a 3-year-old to out on the porch, like, hey, they're coming, let's get ready. We're welcoming people as they come to get their treats and whatnot. But that moment, and I shared it on Sunday, that moment was, I need reminders to know what this kind of hospitality looks like.
Yeah.
And it took a 3-year-old to remind me, here's a way this hospitality looks in the world.
Yeah. I think also with the story of Zacchaeus is one of my favorites, because I just think the level of hospitality that we see Jesus offer to Zacchaeus. So the transformations Zacchaeus goes through, and then the way that the restitution, the generosity, and even so then out of that, there is this like hospitality kind of piece that we see in Zacchaeus, but it's first modeled in Jesus. And it's in such a, I did a series on this like a number of years back, but in it, Jesus essentially is answering questions that if we can answer these, if we pause long enough to notice these or to ask these questions of somebody and be able to answer them, it creates a space that says like, you're welcome here and you're wanted here, right? And so he knows Zacchaeus's name. He recognizes like, I know who you are, I know what you've done, but I also know like what you can do. I see the potential in you. That's a reason I'm willing to like stop and call you out and desire to spend time with you. And so there's something, I think for me, even in this story, like hospitality can look like so many different things, because we think hospitality, and a lot of times we think like, is my table set well? Do you have I fed you well or whatever? And it can look like that, but it can also look like me pausing long enough to have an interaction with somebody that even tonight, just when I got here, we were at your son's basketball game. There's people everywhere. And even two things that come to mind, somebody who I know marginally comes over, Sarah, and is like, oh my gosh, hi, Shay. And I'm like, I can't believe you know my name. And there's this moment of like, I mean, we've had a few conversations and interactions, but in that moment, I'm like, oh, that's so great that you know my name and that you remember my name. And then another girl was there from here that goes to youth here, and she came over to me 3 or 4 times and gave me a hug, and we have this conversation. And there's something in that of like, I got to show hospitality to this girl tonight, and she's, her story is not everybody's showing hospitality to her, but in that space, I watch her face light up, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you!" And like, are you still going to be here Sunday? And we get to have a conversation where I get to give her a hug, and in that moment, like I didn't welcome her to my home, I didn't feed her a meal, but I do get to know her name and I do get to know her story. And so there's something in what Jesus models in that's like, hey, even you said at the top, Max, this like, am I going to live in such a way that like I actually embody hospitality in whatever space I show up in? And then I'm looking for the opportunities to like let somebody know, hey, you're wanted and you're welcomed. You matter.
Am I bringing that energy? And we'll use the word hospitality day to day, right? It's a welcoming kind of a, no matter where I'm at, what kind of a vibe, if you will, do I put off, right? When you said that, Zacchaeus, I was the same way. I was thinking, I knew the story, and then you kind of picture this, cute little guy in a tree. Hey.
Do you think that he's fat? Because in every story ever, like every picture, I always draw him like short and fat.
Well, because he's Jackson. He's supposed to be like a wealthy,
Okay, but he climbed a tree. He can't be that fat.
Right. That's true.
Well, sycamore trees actually are really easy to climb.
Yeah, right.
They are. The sycamore fig trees are very easy to climb.
So like a big guy could do it.
Yeah, it's like the best tree climbing things in that area.
Right.
Sorry.
That's okay. So that's what I was like, he was not well liked, right? So people, that's an important part of the story, right? Is that Jesus said, "Hey, yeah, I'll go to your house for dinner," to recognize the change in his heart, right? That is a hugely impactful part of the story. But it's kind of fun.
Well, and I wonder if that's not, and I guess some of this we have to maybe infer, but I wonder if some of that too isn't where that change of heart. So yes, it's Jesus and he has an encounter with Jesus. And so that's powerful. We know that to be true. But I also wonder if some of that change of heart isn't like, hey, somebody saw past what I've done. Somebody saw past the job that I hold, or even the way I've treated people, enough to say, hey, I'd like to sit at your table and I'd like to spend some time with you. And I mean, I don't know, we see that, we know that that's true, right? We make movies about this and whatever, but like there's something about somebody pausing long enough to say, hey, I'll even notice you or have a conversation with you. I'll sit down and have a meal with you. You matter that much. And that can alter someone's life.
Yeah.
Right. Am I going to be the guy that says, okay, come on in and have dinner and just listen and enjoy and get to know? Or am I going to be more like the Pharisees and come on in and check out my house and check out, it's two vastly different approaches to being hospitable, if you will. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm reading this book right now that you gave me, Under the Overpass, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. So Max, it's this book, this guy and a friend of his, they're college students. And then they have this strong conviction of like, essentially not having any context for what it is to actually be in need, to live homeless, or to have that level of need. And so one of the things he talks about in the book is like even driving to hear a sermon where people will tell you like you need to care for the poor and whatever. And he's like, we drive 20 minutes past poor people to hear about how to care for poor people and then drive home. And so this whole idea, and so what they do is they spend 5 months, I think, living on the streets. They leave everything that they have behind. They take guitars and a backpack, and that's it. And so it's like their journey and their encounters. And I'm only like maybe halfway through. But it's just fascinating and convicting, I guess, because there's even what we're talking about right now. There's something about, and maybe this is the peace landing for me. There's something about hospitality that ties into the even just noticing. Do you notice? Because we're really good, I think, at shielding or guarding our eyes or our focus, right? And so there's something, all of Jesus's ministry, he's noticing the people and the needs around him. And that's true for Zacchaeus too. And so that hospitality comes from, or it starts with a willingness to notice, to have our eyes open and to be aware. And that's what, in the book, they talk a lot about that, like just how invisible or how much people avert their eyes and don't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or only looking for the things where they're like, I'm comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a place I can say yes to.
Yeah.
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 Go on.
As we bring this to a close, what is the Kairos from Sunday? What's God still saying or still stirring within us? And how is he inviting us to respond? So for me, it's hospitality as witness. That was one of the things that I had in my notes, and just has continued on. Again, I think the example during Halloween and this 3-year-old of like, they're coming, let's come on, let's get ready, let's go greet them and meet them before they even get to the door, and the joy and the exuberance that was expressed in this little toddler. But that using hospitality as witness, like if I have that kind of joy and excitement to welcome others in, whether it's a hug at a basketball game, or just like I know someone's name and I meet their gaze and I'm like, hey, I see you. Or if it is something as much as, at the home and sitting around the table. But do I see this as an opportunity of witness of the goodness of God, witness of him welcome me into his presence. Mm-hmm. And so that's the Kairos for me in the spaces that he's called me, and maybe not even the spaces, maybe it's just internally, how am I in saying yes to Jesus and living and orienting myself? Is my hospitality being a witness and a testimony to who God is and how he's welcomed me in?
Yeah. That's good.
Well, like witness, my Kairos, I would say would be just because really a lot of this kind of came to me as I was driving to church is in hospitality is the giving part of hospitality, and not just a a social kind of a gathering, you're giving of your time, of your energy, of your, so it really kind of shifted when I started thinking about Job. And really, will I have that kind of strength, no matter what's going on in my life, to always bring forth kind of that welcoming, hospitable vibe, right? I think it's so important.
Yeah.
I think for me, and this is not the first time I've had this Kairos reminder, but it is that noticing piece. It's a slowing down enough, because I think this story sits right before Jesus goes into Jerusalem. So this is like Jesus is walking towards the cross, like he's headed towards kind of the big thing, and he takes time for this. And I just know that I can get really focused on the things I'm supposed to be doing, or the tasks, or the to-do list, or I can be really busy and about the work of good things, or about the ministry, and I can use that as an excuse to not notice or not have time to pause and recognize somebody. So that reminder of like what matters, and if I desire for hospitality to be my witness, then I actually have to have my eyes opened and aware. And ask, maybe some of that too is just asking God to show me the places he desires me to pause and to welcome people in.
I'd say both of your Kairos is actually landing in a space of like today. Today, these are true. And so what might God be speaking into today in regards to hospitality, no matter the circumstance, or actually better yet, when they are really difficult and I don't want to be hospitable, will I choose it? Will I open up space?
Yeah, right? Well, both of those things actually sit in yours. So when I choose hospitality, regardless of my circumstance, or when I do pause to take notice, that's the witness that says, hey, something's different here, actually. This doesn't look like what everything else looks like.
Yeah.
It's like a communal Kairos. Is that a thing? Yeah. I think we all just had one together.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Kairos.
Yeah, group Kairos. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. As always, our prayer is that these are the kind of conversations you're having. We get to have these and talk about what God's still saying. But we want that for you too. So if you have people that you can wrestle through the text or wrestle through conversations with, we want to, that's our prayer for you. And so until next time, have a great week.